When the broadcast came, the world had already grown quiet. Streetlights blinked out weeks earlier. Grocery shelves were dusted with the fingerprints of people who never returned. Cities that once pulsed with noise now held only wind and the slow creak of metal. Then, a calm, official voice said 3 words that no one thought would be true. Humanity is extinct. At first, listeners could not believe it. The voice sounded like every emergency announcement ever recorded. Steady, practiced, final. People replayed the clip because denial is a kind of hope. But the records, the satellite sweeps, and the sealed shelters told the same story. There were no confirmed survivors. Teams checked bunkers, caves, orbital habitats. All true human life signs read empty. The silence settled in like a new season. On the night of the final checks, a deep space listening array picked up something else. A sound that cut through static. It was not speech. It was not a natural star hum. It was a clear, repeating electronic tone that rose and fell in a pattern, like someone tapping a code on a long, slow drum. Engineers labeled the recording Signal A. The label was simple. The finding was not. Scientists brought the raw data into labs that had lost little of their old urgency. Cameras watched oscilloscopes trace the waveform like a heartbeat. The tone repeated at intervals that made mathematicians lean forward. Simple primes, then short clusters of notes that suggested deliberate order. The first public report called it anomalous. The private memos called it something else. Intentional. People watching the footage of empty streets felt that same tone as a companion to the news. A sound that said a story had not ended. Small, human things began to matter again. A child's drawing found under a collapsed roof. A cassette tape in a ruined car that still held the loop of a father singing to his kid. A note pinned to a door that read, "Seed packet under blue tile."
The collapse did not happen with one great crash. It came in small failures that linked together and spread faster than anyone expected. Farms that depended on automated pollinators lost entire seasons. Power grids overloaded and tripped in a chain reaction that left continents in dark. Supply drones stalled in midair as navigation satellites blinked offline. At first, officials called it a systems failure. Then, hospitals stopped reporting. Then, they stopped even replying. Teams pieced together the timeline from fragments. A shipping manifest with a final stamp. A city camera that recorded empty streets for hours. A maintenance log that stopped mid-entry. Emergency services made their last runs. Rescue fleets searched isolated stations and orbital habitats and reported nothing. In the data, there were no signs of evacuation, no mass departures, no mass graves, just sudden absence. The old words, pandemic, war, collapse, tipped and then failed to explain what the numbers showed. Families left messages in whatever form they could. Short audio files, scrawled notes, video snaps, small human proofs meant for anyone who might come later. One teacher taped a chalkboard lesson and signed her name. A baker left flour-dusted footprints. Robots followed preset programs and kept doing what they knew, feeding, cleaning, caring for empty rooms. Their logs became a map of ordinary days, suddenly without people. Scientists who later reviewed the logs found a strange common thread. During the last week before silence, many systems recorded an extra input. A faint, low-energy modulation appeared in communication feeds and environmental sensors. It was too weak to control machines, but it left a mark in the data. Some engineers called it interference. Scientists treated Signal A like a puzzle left at the edge of a grave. Labs around the world replayed the recording 1,000 times. Teams used old radio telescopes, quantum analyzers, and pattern learning machines. Every repeat revealed a new layer. Beneath the steady tone lay bursts of tones, arranged in short groups. And within those groups were shifts in phase that suggested intent. The waveform looked too neat to be random. Researchers named the parts with plain words: pulses, clusters, frames. Mathematicians pointed out prime number intervals in the bursts: 2, 3, 5, 7, an ordering that hinted at deliberate design. Musicians listened and found simple intervals that made the clusters feel like fragments of melody. Linguists, with no native grammar to guide them, treated the signal like an unknown script and searched for repetition that might mark meaning. All disciplines shared the same surprise. The signal mixed mathematical order and cultural traces in a way no single theory could explain. Teams built visual translations of the sound. Spectrograms bloomed with bands of light. Animations turned bursts into shapes that repeated like motifs in a song. The public watched short clips that explained the basics. Prime spacing means intent. Clusters repeat with variation. Some frames mirror patterns found in human music. These bite-sized explanations made the mystery feel both accessible and eerie. For every breakthrough, new questions appeared. A lab decoded a fragment that matched a lullaby melody from a culture cataloged in the old archives. Another team found a waveform segment that matched the rhythm of a child's footstep pattern. Someone noticed that the signal used pauses in ways similar to human punctuation. Specialists argued over whether these matches were proof of human origin, echoes of human-made probes, or a mimicry by an unknown listener. Pressure rose when the military filed a terse memo. The signal caused reaction in defensive arrays of several polities beyond Earth's sphere. Transmissions that had been passive were now being monitored with suspicion. Intelligence nodes flagged an increase in encryption activity across distant networks. The signal had not just been heard, it had been noticed. Amid the labs and memos, a small team achieved... The word remember turned debate into grief. People no longer argued only about data. They argued about memory. For some, the signal was a plea. Keep human stories alive. For others, it was a warning. Learn from what happened. For a few, it read like a trap. A carefully crafted lure that could expose or provoke. Each reading shaped actions. Experts split into clear camps. Archivists and historians said the signal looked like a deliberate archive. Its mixes of simple math, melody, and short-spoken tokens matched techniques used to make unknown listeners understand human basics. You teach numbers, then patterns, then feeling, one curator wrote in a circulated brief. Ethicists added that if anything could carry human culture beyond extinction, it must be preserved and shared. Military strategists said something different. They saw the signal's neat design and wide propagation as possible bait. An intentional broadcast that alarms others could start conflicts, a retired officer warned in a recorded panel. That warning carried weight. Notices arrived from distant polities. Defensive postures increased, communications throttled, and some listening stations went silent rather than risk contagion or provocation. Scientists who leaned toward a neutral view argued the signal might be both record and warning. They pointed to fragments that resembled human artifacts, a lullaby motif, a rhythm like footsteps, syllables matching common names. These echoes suggested the transmission included salted samples of human life. At the same time, other fragments read like admonitions, short phrases that, when loosely translated, suggested regret and instruction. We failed, or do not repeat. Public reaction mixed with the expert divisions. Some communities performed ceremonies around the signal, small gatherings where people played archived songs and showed found photos. Others used it to fuel fear. Markets for defense tech spiked, and religious groups preached signs and prophecies.
the signal became a mirror, reflecting people's hopes and anxieties. Beyond Earth, the signal's pattern sparked geopolitical ripples. Interstellar coalitions convened emergency meetings. A few distant listeners chose to store the transmission quietly, index it like any other data object. One academic council debated whether the signal should...
The debate moved from papers and panels into rooms where decisions had real power. Councils met behind guarded doors. Data centers hummed with analysts. Public feeds showed protests and vigils. 3 clear options emerged: suppress the signal, archive it, or answer it. Those who wanted suppression argued in simple, hard terms: danger first. If the transmission was bait, replying or rebroadcasting could spark attacks or contagion. Some polities silently cut listening notes and shredded public copies. A nation-state military council issued an order to quarantine all signal A material, citing risk to any system that processed unknown code. Fear made the quiet feel like safety. Archivists fought back. They pushed that memory could not be erased simply because it frightened people. In secured vaults, they built duplicates of the fragments and cataloged images, melodies, recipes, and messages. Their argument was moral. Humans had lived. Their traces deserved preservation. Small teams worked around the clock to make catalogs human-readable, to tag context, and to store items in formats unlikely to be misused. They argued that hiding evidence was itself a form of forgetting. A third, secret current worked toward a reply. Not all replies were loud or political. A covert group of scientists and ethicists drafted a narrow transmission. No codes, no... When the transmissions left Earth, the world held its breath in a new kind of silence. The archive sat in vaults and on probes, a careful map of human life. The offering sailed outward on quiet frequencies, a bundle of faces, songs, recipes, and a single plain phrase: we were. For days, monitoring centers watched signal strength graphs and logged noise. Then the waiting stretched into weeks, and the waiting into months. Responses came slowly and in fragments. Some distant listeners treated the transmissions like museum donations. A research station on a far moon stored the archive in an indexed vault. Curators there played the lullabies in private and cataloged the grocery lists with respectful notes. A historian on a neutral station translated a child's scribble into 3 languages and added it to an open repository of extinct cultures. For those custodians, memory was duty. Other reactions were colder. Defense outposts boosted shields and adjusted patrols. Commanders feared the transmission might reveal human systems or patterns useful to an adversary. Some polities pronounced the broadcast reckless and called for stricter controls on interstellar sharing. Diplomats argued about precedent. Had Earth created obligations by speaking? Had it made itself a case study for others to exploit? Then there were the unexpected replies. Months after the offering, a small packet arrived at a listening post on the edge of an observation field. It contained nothing harmful, no programs, no demands, only a single image, rendered in a style the post's archivists did not recognize. A field of pale blue plants, and a short phrase translated roughly as, "We kept them." The message carried both comfort and new questions. Who had kept them? Had someone else gathered human traces? Or had an observer simply made a record to honor a vanished species? The modest reply spread quietly through academic channels and rekindled debates about guardianship. Back on Earth, the physical world remained empty, but full of traces. Drones continued routines. Solar arrays tracked the sun.